Welcome. Today I'm talking to Marek Zmysłowski, a serial entrepreneur and person passionate about Africa,
For sure.
African region. Marek, could you tell me a little bit more about investing in Africa? How does that feel? How does it taste?
Yeah, so
Go for that.
I've been involved from the business perspective in Africa since 2012. I was able to be an early employee of a huge company that is now Jumia. We recently IPO'd on the New York Stock Exchange. After that, I was involved in many different investments and also launched my own companies in Africa. And to be honest, just to sum up, Africa is a typical high risk, high reward region. There's still a lot of things to do. Many things are still chaotic. There's a high risk of doing anything. It may fail, but if it doesn't, the potential reward is huge. I come from Poland, so Africa for me is like Poland in the early 90s when I was a kid, when the transformation happened from communism to capitalism, and like so many companies were started and so many fortunes were built.
Yeah.
It's just like that in Africa, just 100 times bigger.
Right. So always threat goes with the potential opportunity.
It should go. Why risk more if you can't
Yeah.
potentially get more?
So how not to burn your money in Africa? How to be successful there? What are your key determinant factors to reach success?
Well, you can't let your passion and excitement distort your decision-making process. I think the best way, if there's one advice that can only be given, because there's like so many advice that may work or not, I think it's always important to do any type of activity, whether investing or opening your own business or expanding into Africa. It's important to do it with a local partner that you have somehow built trust with, maybe by doing something else before somewhere else. Without a local partner, you just won't succeed.
Right. So do you believe that there are going to be the same opportunities in Africa in 5 years, in 10 years?
Oh, I believe that the window of opportunity is closing, depending on the sector.
Right.
You land in Africa and you, as an entrepreneur, you see opportunities everywhere, but there are sectors which are expanding right now and they are growing, and the players are coming into, and in a couple of years from now, the seats will be taken already. But there will be another sector to be open. So as a whole, Africa will be a continent of opportunities for the next probably 50 or 100 years. However, you need to look at your sector that you're focused on, because it may be the last minute for your particular sector.
And if you want to look into some verticals, business verticals or business models, what is the most optimal and, in your opinion, has got the most opportunities to invest in?
So again, I think it depends on the timing. Right now, obviously, what is growing in Africa is energy, the infrastructure sector, banking, finance. Then you have agriculture, because everyone needs to eat. I know companies which entered Nigeria and started growing tomatoes, and they are now making millions of dollars. I'm particularly involved in technology, and I would say that this is still a very early stage for technology, a very hard one. I think in the end, the market in Africa will look similar to any other Western region. So developed with capitalism, with a lot of purchasing power, and people liking to buy stuff and spend stuff on nice things. So I wouldn't necessarily come up with crazy ideas and new business models. I would try to look to what is already working in Europe that doesn't necessarily is in Africa yet. Then look at what is different in order to launch it, but stick to the basic concepts that are already working somewhere else.
Right. You have mentioned in your presentation, Startup Hansa, that internet in Africa may cost even around $1,000 per month.
Yeah.
So do you believe that it's an easy path for tech startups who want to kick off in Africa?
So definitely, because of the high infrastructure costs, to launch a startup is way more expensive than to launch a startup right now in Europe. When we've launched our office in 2013, 12, late 12 in Nigeria, in order to have an office for 20 people, we had to pay like $5,000 for internet. But now it's already 10 times lower. So the infrastructure is really catching up very fast. But however, you gotta be prepared for higher starting costs, and then also higher maintenance costs and higher risk. But like I said, the reward is also higher.
Right. So today we are in Gdansk.
Yeah.
We are attending the Startup Hansa conference. Why do you believe Gdansk is going to be also kind of a hub for startups, and why should investors look here?
I think since the beginning of the city, Gdansk has always been a special place because of its location, the closeness to the countries on the north. It can become a hub with the different political dynamics that are happening in Europe, with Brexit happening, etc. I think when Gdansk learns how to build a technological bridge with those rich and very technologically oriented countries like Sweden, Norway, Finland, Denmark, and also with countries like Germany and Netherlands, which are not that far, it has a chance to become an interesting hub in Poland because it's not only about Warsaw and it's not only about Krakow.
Right. So there are some advantages of the African region. There are some advantages of Polish region. Could you just give some analogy or maybe compare these two? What are the strong points of Gdansk and its potential, or Poland in general, an African region?
So the biggest asset for sure coming from Poland is the quality of our developers. We're just top class, and everyone appreciates them around the world. That is something that Africa still struggles, because Africa has a lot of talent, but not necessarily developers, because there's not too many places where developers can be taught. And big technological companies from Africa are struggling to build their tech development centers in Africa. And so the technology aspect gives a head start to Poland. Then, on the other hand, I see many Polish companies. Poland is a big market enough to become a successful company only in the Polish market. So maybe you're not as hungry to do a global expansion. But so many entrepreneurs in Africa are thinking in a Pan-African way. Just because they launch a business in Ghana doesn't mean they want to only do it in Ghana. They want to do it in the whole Africa. But in terms of analogy, it's what I said earlier. The transition that Africa is now undergoing is similar to where Poland was 20, 30 years ago. And many times the pedigree of Polish managers gives them a head start, because the challenges we had in Poland in the last 10, 20 years, I think that prepared us in a pretty good way to deal with the challenges in Africa. I'm an example of that. So I think we shouldn't be afraid of trying to use our skills and our experience into expanding much, much further than just Europe. So that's what I want to do. I want to convince Polish entrepreneurs and companies to be more aggressive in terms of Africa.
Okay. And who should you believe come here to Gdansk and get interested in this market?
Well, definitely investors, because the Polish region and the CE region is becoming one of the sexiest regions, I think, in Europe for investing purposes. There's a lot of money to be that is looking at the region. So if Western Europeans or Northern Europeans VCs want to see where the potential of investing in is, they should come here, because they also have a chance to talk to the local startups. I've heard that there's a lot of startups that came here for the demo day. And then again, this type of conference is supposed to match money with people with money and match them with people with time or ideas. So both startups and VCs should come. I like the whole concept of this conference focusing on that bridge between Poland and Northern and Western Europe. That's pretty unique.
Great. Thank you for this interview.
Thank you so much.